Shine, 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 Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight with your award-winning host, Dale Davidson. Dale interviews fascinating guests from top-ranked celebrities to people just like you who have an important story to tell. For more than 15 years, Dale has broadcast every week from the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. He finds the people who really make Las Vegas a one-of-a-kind city and lets the world know just what's happening in this remarkable town. You'll discover why 50 million people visit the entertainment capital of the world every year. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Las Vegas Tonight.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Thank you for tuning in each and every week. We do our best to bring you fascinating guests. Have we outdone ourselves? Yes, we have. Raven Harrison is with us. She's a candidate for Congress from Texas. She's a former Las Vegan, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And a great lady. Raven, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Dale. Good to see you.
I appreciate you letting me call you by your first name.
Oh, excellent.
So you live in Dallas now?
We live just north of Dallas in Frisco, Texas.
Okay.
But
Frisco. I know where that is.
Yes, where it's all happening, but was born in Texas.
Yeah.
So occasionally you have to go back to the beginning.
And you're an Air Force brat. There's a lot of them here in Las Vegas.
The Air Force brat. I am the quintessential Air Force brat. So not
great.
only do I have two parents who are retired lieutenant colonels in the United States Air Force. So I got away from that as quickly as I could to marry a retired United States Air Force C-17 pilot.
Couldn't get away.
They never get away.
Couldn't get away.
Yes, I'm excited to have, it definitely gives you a perspective of patriotism and service.
Oh my gosh,
You spend your life in service to people, in service to this great country.
Yeah, and when I ask you a little bit about growing up that way, how many schools did you end up going to?
To ask that question.
Yeah.
That is, so I would say the conservative estimate is 8 schools in 11 years, and I skipped 2 grades.
Wow.
So we were on kind of an accelerated program.
Wow. Now, were both parents pilots, or what did they do?
No, my mom had a degree in electrical electronics engineering.
Wow.
Which to me meant that she could put anything I had together on Christmas. And
I had a dad who was an electrical engineer. Yeah, he fixed everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law, so he was a pilot as well. He flew in Nam, but he was the law side of it. Keep us out of trouble.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. And what was it like? Tell me, do you have siblings?
I am an only child.
An only child. That explains a lot.
I couldn't dip into that well as a kid.
That's sweet.
Broke the mold, literally.
Now, do you feel that you were over-disciplined because you had military parents?
I don't know if over-disciplined is the word I would use.
She's going to be very diplomatic.
I'm going to be the diplomat. I'm going to tell you that that rumor of if it wasn't gushing from our generation, if the blood wasn't gushing, if the bone wasn't visible, don't want to hear it.
Walk it off.
And I'm telling you, the one that most people never get used to was the briefings. It was always about the briefings. Yeah. It was, I need to know how to do this. How do I make this hot chocolate? There'll be a briefing at 0600. Like, are you kidding? And people thought it was really cool. I didn't think it was that cool. I thought it was ridiculous. And I went, can I just have the mom who makes cookies and, the house smells great when you come home from school, and my mom is, God knows where, packing an AR-15 or something, and so it was crazy.
I'm familiar. My dad was Air Force as well. Yes. U.S. Army Air Corps. That's how far back he went. During World War II, and was on the team that invented onboard radar. Invented it. Yeah.
There it is.
Top secret stuff and all that, electrical engineer and all of that stuff.
Excellent.
But he was the same way. It was like, he would grill me, and he would lecture me and grill me, and he would use the Socratic method. It was like, what exactly precisely were you thinking when you thought you hitting a tennis ball into the neighbor's window would not break it? Explain to me what you thought the dynamics of that were, And after a while, I was like, "Can't you just hit me like the other dads, so I can get up and leave?" And my friends just get spanked and it's over in 5 minutes.
You would welcome corporal punishment after one of those, because this was, I could tell you that some of the things I did, and especially being an only child, you've got no one to blame it on.
Yeah.
That you have to be really precise, because some of those inquiries would rival something you would see on television.
Yes.
So Jack Nicholson, here it came. You can't handle the truth.
That's right. And and it's so hard to keep track of the lies that you've told trying to get out of this.
That's correct. And I think my father's favorite saying is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
That's the truth. That's the truth. So you went to college early. You skipped a couple of grades.
Yes, I didn't have the luxury of the internet and all this technology to distract me. We had books.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how old I was. One of my favorite games was to look up in the dictionary a new word each day and mark it off, and wanted to see if I could get that dictionary with every X in it. And now my kids absolutely have an eye roll you can hear when I say that story of, I picked up a book. And they're like, what for? But yes, studying education, super important.
Very important.
And there was also that thread of really understanding. I mean, my parents were great, but you saw them come in. There were a lot of things they couldn't tell us about places. We lived in combat zones. We lived in communism. We lived in places that most people never would want to know about. And when you came back, the last thing I could do to them is, I was in trouble at school, or I got caught for roughhousing with this. So there was a line of respect that we held of just going, I can't do that to them. They're out there doing something so important.
Wow.
It was difficult. It was definitely a sacrifice. I can probably count the number of birthdays they made it home for on one hand.
Yeah.
But I understood. I got it as a kid. But boy, there were some days that you just, I think I remember coming to school one time. I corrected a teacher. That's what I did. He had gotten the ranks wrong at general, and I made a correction. He sent me straight to the principal's office, and I can't tell you the panic that came with going down there. My dad and mom show up in full military uniform, and you would have thought I was being put in the back of a police car. It was like, you're kidding. And he's like, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I could move right about now.
Oh, wow.
But it turned out just fine. Wound up shaking hands, laughing with the principal, and all was well. But
and everybody noted that you had it right.
Yes. Thankfully, we moved, I think, within about 2 months of that. So we can start that all over again in a new area for people to think I'm completely nuts.
Wow. Did you ever contemplate going into the military yourself?
I probably would have. I was really proud, I'm proud of both my parents, but I was proud of my mother, because it was a hard journey. She had a very complicated assignment. She worked really long hours. I never saw her take a day off. Wow. But it was in a time where the patriotism wasn't always respected and understood. Mm-hmm. So there were people that refused to salute her. The Native American, she's a Cherokee Sioux. Indian, and they were still in a time where people were still kind of getting used to a different dynamic. So I remember people refusing to salute her. They were giving her quite a rough time, so I was extremely proud, and I had that fire, but I think I knew deep down that really wasn't my path. But they always encouraged. We had 2 different stories, and my dad was like, well, you might be of the cut, we'll see. And my mom was, no, don't do it.
Whatever you do, don't do this.
Go do something you're gonna make money and be appreciated. And I went, okay. So we had those conflicting, but I think deep down we were waiting. And that's the amazing thing about God, is how the puzzles, I didn't make a lot of sense at that time. Fire breather, only child, spent a lot of time making my own path. And then all of a sudden it kind of, it comes together when you realize I was literally raised by warriors for a time such as this. God always has it right on time.
That's amazing. So you went to Temple University.
I started at Purdue.
Oh, you did?
And went there for a year, and I think my parents got a tuition bill for about as much as our house cost, and we decided to make a change, and I went to Temple.
Yes.
And in Philadelphia.
Right.
Pennsylvania, and graduated with a Bachelor of Science
You were in marketing. You studied marketing.
I did.
Yeah.
They keep changing the schools just so we feel older than we really are.
Yes.
So it was a commercial marketing and hospitality management.
Oh, okay.
Ask me again later what that means. You're probably going to get a different answer.
There's a school here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas that's
correct.
Hospitality. Yeah.
Yes. So, but that was the general thread.
Yes. Okay.
Is telling people why they need it and with a big smile.
Yeah, that's right. And you went into marketing when you got out of school.
I did. I have to be honest with you, Dale, be honest with the viewers that I didn't have a great plan, except I wanted to not be in school and I didn't want to be paying off student loans forever. So I said, I'm taking the first thing that I get when they offer me out of.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can't be too picky. And it happened to be with an advertising agency, and just started working my way up and never really looked back. It was definitely something I'm hardwired for.
And you started as an account executive.
I started as an account coordinator, which is coffee and water when the people who were doing real marketing need it. That's what it is.
Right,
so you get to be the first person in, the last person to leave, and get paid nothing, and you'll love it.
Yeah. I worked in ad agencies for a long time and ended up specializing in political advertising.
Boy.
Handled a lot of campaigns.
Was always a fun time,
as
wasn't
the media consultant. Well, I ended up working in the White House for Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
So I wrote words that came out of his mouth, which was a thrill. He's still my hero.
The great communicator. Yeah. One of mine as well.
Yeah, and he was extremely easy to write for. You know, once you understood the basics as a writer, a speech writer, you need to, know their pacing, know their favorite phrases, know their, whatever.
And know their personality.
Their personality. And once you had that down, he was very accepting.
Wow.
But he was a boss. He was very avuncular. He's Uncle Ron. But if you screwed up, which I did multiple times, you heard about it. But the thing was, the next day everything was fine.
Excellent.
But he was wonderful to work for. He really was.
I'm a little jealous on that point.
So what inspired you to get into politics? That's a crazy thing to do. You're making money, you're working in marketing, everything is groovy. Then all of a sudden, here's a good idea.
Or not. It's a really interesting story. I'm going to try to condense it because it has a lot of facets to it. But I can tell you that I really had an interesting dynamic of knowing that I was meant for something big.
Yeah.
I'm a strong personality. I don't know if anybody can tell that, but strong personality, but it really doesn't always sometimes come together till you get the call. And I started this journey the way that I should have started it from the beginning, which is pretty much on my knees to God. We had been hitting a block everywhere. I saw the direction our country was going in. Really never saw where I fit into any of this. But it really came to a head when my 8-year-old daughter, we got a phone call that they were attempting to expel her from school for voting for President Trump in a mock trial. True story.
Wow.
We are at home. My husband's a pilot, but we're at home and we just get this phone call and my mind is swirling. You need to come get her. She's in trouble. What on earth? She's never been in trouble. What did she do?
Yeah.
And we go racing over there. My mind is just going a million miles a minute. And we get over there and just very flippantly, I said, where's my daughter? She's in detention. I said, she's in detention for what? She needs to think about her choices. I said, I don't have time for this. Get to the point. And she said, well, we had a mock trial today. And I said, you're studying civics? She said, no. I said, okay. And she goes, but she voted for President Trump. And she just left it there. And I'm...
What's your point?
Waiting for her to get there. And she just goes, well, she's making those decisions now. Where is she going to be in a few years? And I went,
oh, Lord.
There's no way this is happening. I'm looking for the camera. I'm being punked. There is no way this is real. And my husband and I look at each other. We go to my daughter, who is hysterically crying in the room. And I said, this just does not happen. And we calm her down, and she's desperately trying to give me something. And she hands me this tear-soaked piece of paper. And it's her detention assignment, which says for her to write, and I quote, in 100 times in cursive, that Hillary Clinton is the true president and Trump is an ass.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I almost dropped it. I gave it to my husband because I just could not believe. I said, this is not happening. And he looks at it. He looks at me and he goes, get her stuff, get all of her stuff. And we grabbed everything out of her desk. We cleaned it out. I said, and then my husband got the first look of what we now call Unleash the Raven. I would have made the Kraken blush. It was a nuclear explosion on that school. I said, you cannot be serious. This does not happen. I said, can we focus on actually educating these kids and reading and writing without this agenda and extra stuff mixed in? So we grabbed patience. And I got home, and while my husband is cheering her up with a lifetime supply of whipped cream on something, I had to really give it to God. I said,
you had to be unbelievably angry.
I was furious. I was confused. I felt betrayed. My trust had been betrayed. And I said to God, truthfully, I don't know what to do. I said, we've been moving to get them in the best schools. We're doing everything we can to teach them the right ways.
And this is what
I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know how to fix this. How do I make this better? I am the fighter, and I don't do helpless well. How do I fix this? And believe it or not, the call came from an actual call. That was a Friday afternoon. Saturday, my phone rings in the blue, 8 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Let's take a brief break.
Let's take a break. This one's going to be good.
A cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
So watch the commercial break and then come back and you'll hear the end of the story.
Woo!
Raven Harrison is with us. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Dale Davidson, host of Las Vegas Tonight. You know, radio has an enduring place in the heart of America. Sometimes it's music that can enliven your spirit or keep you company when you need some. More often for me, it's just been the right spoken word or two that can quiet my mind and soul. Radio brings me a reassuring word in the quiet of night or a welcoming voice early in the morning as I shake off the night's sleep and find my way into God's purpose for my day. And always, I find the best radio station is the one that brings me the best news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. My favorite radio station is KKVV in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's still right where it's been for years at 1060 on the AM dial, hovering over Sin City like a gospel airship, broadcasting the good news of the abounding love that Jesus Christ has for every single one of us. No matter who you are or where you live, you can receive God's Word via the KKVV Gospel Airship. Just go to kkvv.com and click on Listen Live. KKVV is using all the tools that God's provided them, like podcasting and video streaming and video on demand, to produce programs that lift up our fellow believers and save the lost. If you feel a calling to speak to others about Jesus Christ on your very own show, pick up the phone and call the station. They'll be happy to tell you how. Call KKVV today at 702-731-5588 or drop them an email at kkvvradio@hotmail.com. Please join me in becoming part of the KKVV family. You'll be glad you did. Raven Harrison is with us. She is a candidate for United States Congress, and we hope she gets the job.
Ooh.
That's an endorsement, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be some good times. Get the popcorn ready.
We got some powerful women running. Sherelle Mendenhall's been on the show.
Yes.
Do you know Sherelle? Have you met her?
I have not met her, but
she's great.
Very impressed.
Yeah. And she basically almost said exactly the same thing you did when she sat in that chair. She said, you know, if somebody else would do a better job at this than me, I would never run, because it's a pain in the butt running.
That's right.
Right?
Something I never saw coming. I never put the fiery spirit and politics together, ever.
Yeah. So finish your story. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think I think it was going to be a good cliffhanger.
It is.
You got a phone call.
So I got a phone call, and completely out of the blue, was not expecting. It's a Saturday night. My husband and I are watching a movie, and the kids are devoting their lives to the Xbox or whatever they're doing upstairs, and the phone literally rings, and it is a GOP chairman who calls me. And he goes, "Is this Raven?" I said, "It is." He goes, "I got your name from a gentleman running for Congress out in California. He said," and I quote, "You are the person who's going to change the face of the Republican Party." And I remember, again, I just have this urge to, I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Is this a prank?
Yeah, is this a prank? Where are the cameras? What are the kids done this time? And literally, I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "Have you ever think about running?" I said, "Only when I'm chased." And he said, "Ever thought about running for political office? This gentleman says that you are the one. You're the one who's going to change it." And I said, "This guy told you I was a greasy politician?" And he said, I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. And I remember thinking, oops, did I say that out loud? It was what I was thinking.
Right away what was in store for him.
Well, I literally don't get caught off guard very often, but that was definitely one of those times. And I said, "Well, I'm flattered." I said, "I really hadn't thought about it." Mm-hmm. And I said, at that time we had moved to Las Vegas, very happy in our lives, with the exception of the lockdowns and the pandemic. We were pretty happy, but I really I wanted to be polite, and I said, "Thank you, sir." I said, "Let me think about it." I had zero intention of thinking about it. I hung up the phone, and I looked at my husband, and I said, "That's crazy, right?" And expecting him to go, "Yes, that could only happen to you," and what a day this was. But he looked at me, and he goes, "Actually, Raven, I kind of think you were put on this earth for this."
Oh.
Wow. And that is the first time that I had ever put those two together. And when I was praying to God, I said, "Look, this can't be subtle. You're going to have to smack me in the face with it because I'm missing something." Yeah. Well, there it is. There's the divine.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness.
What a nice affirmation for him.
That was an affirmation. That was a right on time. I heard it as clear as day.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what we've got to do. Yeah. And there was no turning back. It has been an unapologetic forward move for God. And then just realizing that as more of this has been revealed, now those puzzle pieces as a child I could not put together. Yeah. I'm Native American. I'm a constitutional conservative. I am pro-life, raised by warriors. Uh-huh. Who does this connect to? I was made for a time such as this, and
Esther.
The ability, the Queen Esther anointing, as my dear friend Bishop Archer, if you're watching, love you, sir.
Dr. Ron Archer has been a guest.
Archer, the man, the legend. But yes, basically there was no turning back and understanding that all these pieces were put together to do his work, and there's no turning back. They can't stop what's coming.
Tell me about the district.
The district I live in, 26, so we returned home. We left Las Vegas, we packed up, and we went home. I said, he wants me to make this fight for my home turf. Mm-hmm. The district is amazing. It's full of great people. There's been some changes with the redistricting coming, so it's Denton, Cook, and Wise County down in those districts, and the people are ready for a change. Been running against a nearly two decade incumbent who is exactly the epitome of why we have to have change.
Right.
There is nothing good that comes out of the government that has been there for decades. Yeah. It's just not what our founding fathers intended.
Good old boys here.
For people to just get so comfortable that they forget why they're there.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder, especially when you see the changing dynamic now that's happening in the political scape. Everything is being reduced by the radicals to race, class, gender. I am the counterattack to all of that, the antithesis of that.
Yeah, it'd be hard to name call.
Oh, it would be
still
hard.
do it, you know.
But I mean, we can have fun with it. So, because according to the left, you know, Elizabeth Warren's Native American and I'm a white supremacist. That's how the left works. So we can play that game, funny. Guys. You don't want to play it with me. I'm not the one to troll, but we've got to move forward, and you have to have thicker skin than that. So this is not a personality contest. This is about God has called me to come forward and do what needs to be done. He didn't say, let them tell you up is down and left is right and good is bad. He didn't say, to let yourself get pushed around and compromise what we know to be principle and biblical law and rule. He didn't allow me to pervert this, and he didn't say, Raven, be polite.
Yes. Yeah.
He said, fix this.
I don't think that works. So you're in the Republican primary.
Yes. Well, we had the primary, and
you've had it already.
We had the primary. We were unsuccessful this time, so we need a little bit more time to get the traction going.
Okay.
But yes, we definitely have still a lot of the entrenched, and that's what I would remind the people now in any of the races that you're looking at is don't look at what they say. We have to look at what they do. Yeah. This is really of us peeling the layers off and saying no more. We have got to get this fixed. We have got to get back to the way government was intended to operate, and that's God at the helm.
Absolutely.
We were founded on Christian principles.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that that's become, she can't say that. I absolutely can and I will.
Yeah.
Every time we get. So we just have to be able to say, listen, you know, God is in control. We have to get back to what is right, America first, you know, our values first, and be unapologetic.
Yes. I am so hopeful that the Republican Party, barring excessive cheating by the other side, is going to turn control of both houses back over to the GOP.
We do, but we have cheating on both sides. We have to remember that the establishment, we have to be able to look in our own ranks first and clean houses. I tell people it's no good in taking back the house if we don't clean it first.
Yes.
So we are going to be doing both. And then give people hope again. They need to know that integrity is coming back, that people are holding themselves to a higher standard. And that's where I come in. It's transparent, out in the open, breathing fire so everybody can see. We're going to call it like it is. People with nothing to hide nothing.
Oh, that's nice. Tell me about your affinity for President Trump. What's your feelings about Donald Trump?
I love President Trump. I had no opinion. I'm of the cloth of the time when you gave people a chance to demonstrate the kind of people they are. As Bishop Archer says, when people show you who they are, believe them. I like the idea. I had no opinion. I don't watch a lot of television, so I knew he was a television personality and larger than life. But he said something that I thought was very interesting. So the elections happened, everybody's crying and melting down and nuclear fireworks, and he's on an interview. And the woman is going, she goes, well, what do you say to these people who say you're going to get us into a nuclear war, that, you know, you're this and this? And I remember watching this going, oh, this ought to be good. And he sat there as cool as a cucumber, let her go through all the litany of doomsday scenarios that were going to happen with him as president. What would you say to those people right now? And he looks at the camera and he goes, don't be afraid.
And that was
Boss mode. Absolutely. And I remember going rock star. I can't wait to see what this guy has got going on. And I'm telling you, as a person, as a patriot, I was so grateful for the way he treated our military. But I wanted him to succeed. I was willing to take him at his word. The people have spoken. He's been elected. Let's give this man a chance. I was extremely disappointed at how many people just couldn't get past. Just let him do his job. Support him. You know, rooting for him to fail is like people rooting for the plane my husband's flying to crash that we're all on. Let's get it done. And he really stepped up for America. People have come after me for that. And, you know, he's this, he's that. I don't know President Trump personally. I hope to get to meet him one day. But I'm telling you.
He'd like you.
Let us, I think you might see a lot in common, but is to just let this man do his job. He's our commander-in-chief and best president of my lifetime. I was extremely pleased to have been able to witness the things he did for America. I don't have to know anything about his background, his personality, all those things that people wanted to bring up. He's this, he's that. Doesn't matter. He's doing it for America. I don't know him personally. I'm not going to judge. Not my place to judge. I just was very grateful for what he did for this country.
Me too. It's funny when you talk about the negative trash talking when he first became president or was running for president. Both reminded me of when Ronald Reagan was running.
Yes.
The same sort of thing.
Yes.
This man you don't want his finger to be on the nuclear button.
That's right.
Because he's unstable and he's this and he's that. And he's a clown. And he's a B-movie actor, all this kind of stuff.
Before that, he was beloved.
Yeah.
He was welcomed and embraced. The second he threw his hat in the political ring, he became Lucifer.
It all becomes. And
but let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
There you go. And what I knew for sure that this was going to be a great thing. And I remember I was working at an ABC station in Ohio at the time, and I watched as the hostages came back from Iran.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
He had just been sworn in as president, and after 444 days under Jimmy Carter, our hostages were held and humiliated and all the rest of it.
Yes, they were.
And then they took one look at Ayatollah Khomeini took one look at Ronald Reagan and said, we better send these people back.
And they did. And we had that respect.
Yeah.
We were revered. But I'm telling you, for my parents, we traveled to a lot of war and communist zones.
Right.
We lived in Germany when the Berlin Wall was still up.
Oh, wow.
So I've seen people trying to get to their freedom, risking their lives to be free.
Yes.
And it's the same, it's the principle of communism. The nail that's sticking up, it's hammered down.
Yes.
And to see that, you appreciate it so much more when we had days, even in the commissary, we couldn't shop on certain days. With military, you couldn't go to certain places. When we went to school in Germany, I was a young child, was spit on by the local people there. They didn't want Americans. They didn't want the military. We had a very negative connotation. But then there's a bombing, at the Munich train station. All of a sudden, where's America?
I remember this.
And that you remember that.
Yes.
So we were there for that. But I was also able to see the Berlin Wall fall.
Wow.
And what it meant to have.
89, this was.
It's the diligence, and a lot of people. If I could to relay to the viewers, one thing is. What you need to understand about the military is people think that that's an outdated concept. The reason they think that is because they've kept that off of your heads. So evil didn't sleep last night, even though you did. And our military, our men and women, our law enforcement are putting this on every day so it never reaches our shores.
Wow.
So the sacrifices my parents, my husband, and all those veterans, and thank you for our veterans out there have done. Is it's diligent, it's ongoing, it never ends, but you'd be surprised how many things you don't hear about. The good things you hear, the ones you hear about, there's countless more that you don't that were stopped.
Yes. My daughter-in-law got her PhD in linguistic anthropology, which I never knew existed before. I knew her.
Is there a degree for that, to understand what the degree
Yeah,
is?
exactly.
That's awesome.
But it's like, the basics of language is really what it was. And she speaks 7 languages and all of this.
I thought I was doing pretty good at 4.
Yeah, it's very good. And she ended up, my son, her husband, and she moved to what was then East Berlin.
Right.
And the wall had fallen at that point. And so her project was, what did the communists say and do? Particularly, what language did they use? What words did they use? What propaganda did they use to convince people that they should move from their farms, from the countryside, in lives that they really loved, and go into the city?
There it is, Dale.
She interviewed people who were.
Why indeed? What would convince people to substitute their judgment for someone else's? What did Reagan say? The words you don't want to hear. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
I'm here to help you. Yeah. Yeah.
And and I saw that play out in real time.
Yeah.
So for the ones who would push back against me and argue, who have given nothing to this country, they've seen nothing, but they want to argue with those of us who have, telling you they have no idea how close we are.
Oh.
And this is at our shores. We're ankle deep in it right now.
I know. When we come back from break, which we'll have to do here in a minute, I want to talk about the Ukraine.
Yes.
And talk about Russia. And, in the national scene, you're going to have to deal with this kind of stuff. And I want to get your take on this.
We've got ideas on all of that.
There you go. We'll be back with Raven Harrison right after this.
Our world isn't perfect. Just watch the news. Evil is everywhere. Now, at the core of who we are, we all know and feel these things to be wrong. But why? Why do we agree that some actions are wrong? Where did we get our standard, the moral code that tells us good from bad? If we're creating it ourselves, free to choose what works for us, then that would make every action acceptable. Good and bad would be the same, and people who commit heinous crimes wouldn't be guilty. They'd simply be doing what's right for them. And yet we say they're guilty. When someone murders an innocent person, it bothers us, enrages us. We hate injustice. Now, maybe we're in a game of survival of the fittest. Suffering and death simply weed out those who aren't strong enough or lucky enough to have won the genetic lottery. But if that's true, why do stories of death and destruction draw up feelings of deep disgust and hurt inside you? Why does your heart break at the news of tragedy? And why do so many other people feel the same way? Could it be that there's something more? Some greater outside force that has ingrained you with the desire for love and goodness? Suppose there's a reason behind hating the evil in the world. Suppose it leads to something greater. Could it lead to hope?
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. We are so very, very, very pleased to have Raven Harrison with us. What a pistol.
Oh.
I think she would like that description.
Oh, yeah.
You like
Fire
that?
breather.
Let's talk about the war.
Yes.
Which is, of course, what it is in the Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
And Putin is obviously a madman, in my opinion.
We've got a few of those running around.
Yeah, tell me what your stance is on what the U.S. is doing or not doing, what NATO should be doing and maybe is not doing. How do we help the Ukraine?
It is a really tough situation. The one thing that I have to say is that I'm always inherently skeptical until the facts come in.
Right.
So definitely, and my family legacy, these are warriors. So I've seen the face of war many times. It's a terrible situation that's going on. I would also be but mindful of our government's involvement. So what I'm seeing is our foreign policy is a disaster. We do not have foreign policy right now. We don't have a plan. We don't have a message that resonates.
Right.
And we don't have a way to climb out of this from what they're doing. Continuing to send endless amounts of money to the Ukraine to secure their border, especially as a person from Texas with our wide open southern border, is a really sore subject for me. But the billions of dollars that we're sending over there are symptomatic of the problem we have. I don't like when they say the government sent money. The government has no money. It is our money. It is taxpayer money. And when we have a wide open southern border, because a lot of these people can just walk through our southern border in Texas, it's wide open. So the fact that we're actually addressing someone else's border before our own is a big problem for me.
Hear you.
But for the Ukraine, You know, we have a lot of innocent life that needs to be protected, and we have to be able to get real about what's actually happening out there. So I'm not a huge fan of continuing to send billions of dollars in foreign aid out there. Right. I'm also very skeptical of why Jill Biden and why Nancy Pelosi and all these people who have children who sit on the boards of Ukraine are out in the Ukraine right now. Yeah. I don't understand what that has to do, why they are in active war zones. So what's happening with Putin is he sees the weakness. He is going for the jugular because we are on the ropes. We don't have strong leadership. We don't have a clean message. And not just Putin, but all the others are capitalizing on this situation.
And China is threatening Taiwan again.
Correct. And we have skyrocketing inflation. We have all these things going on. But what people are realizing, and our debt is continuing to kick up. Has anybody talked about what's going to happen when we can't keep borrowing our way out of this? What's going to happen with the national currency?
Children and grandchildren are going to get stuck with this.
Correct. But the only reason we're allowed to keep accruing this kind of debt is because we are the national currency standard. What happens if China takes that over from us? Right. We have a lot of questions we need to be asking on that. So as far as what's going on in the Ukraine is we need to be strong and firm with Russia, but we can't with the current I can't even call it leadership. With what's currently going on in the government, this is exactly symptomatic. How could it not be happening this way? Because we have no strength there. Anybody who believes that Joe Biden is running this country is not paying attention.
Bullies, whether they're on the playground or in charge of huge nations, are all the same.
Correct.
The only thing they understand is power.
And they get it through the innocent.
Yeah.
The weak.
Yeah, and if we stand up to them, they back down.
Correct.
Almost every time.
And we have to, and that's what we used to have. We used to have that might, and we had that presence, peace through strength.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to return to again, is the peace through strength. We absolutely have to be active. We should be doing that. NATO's not doing their job. The UNN, I'm not sure whose job they're doing, but nobody is stepping up to do what needs to be done. Everybody's still playing politics.
Yeah.
And this is a war.
Yeah, I don't understand why we don't, as NATO, insist that we turn our tanks around and head them in toward the battle. You know, why aren't we protecting those people actively?
Correct.
Even though they're not members of NATO, they should be. And we want them to be, right?
Well, exactly. But the other question is, we're seeing this seems like 2.0. If we look at what happened in Afghanistan, that was a colossal debacle. And as a person who grew up in military circles, one of the biggest things in my household and in the military, accountability. There's a chain of command, there's accountability, there's a cause and effect. Seeing that, I don't know what you call that, sham hearing that we saw on Capitol Hill. I have never in my life, I remember seeing Millie up there, decorated to the hill. I've never seen so many medals up there with answers of, I don't know. I don't know what happened on this. I know what happened. You know, we left Americans behind.
Yes,
we left terrorists with $85 billion of high-grade military equipment. The cardinal rule, no man left behind, and we left Americans to fend for themselves in a hostile terrorist country because our government failed. We failed our people. And this is what we're seeing in Ukraine happen. It's Trump's fault. It's not Trump's fault. Okay, they're going to get to a point where maybe sometime 2 decades from now, they're going to stop blaming Trump for everything that happens under this, we'll call administration, regime, whatever fits appropriately. But we saw what happened. That was a disaster, no accountability. Instead, they went squirrel, and that's what we got. So now we're seeing this in Ukraine come out, and we're seeing the exact same, the definition of insanity. We're seeing it play over. So you're right. We need to step up to the table. People need to stop playing politics and do their job. Get up to the table, get these people safe, hold the line. But how do you hold the line against Russia when we're getting oil from them? You shut our pipelines down. You have us on the ropes with this, and then you're going to sanction Russia when we have oil coming from Russia and Venezuela. How hard is Putin laughing right now at this? This is exactly the kind of things that are going on in our government, but every 2 years we forget. as voters, we let these people come back and go, we're fighting for you. You know, blah, blah, whatever. We have to do better, guys. So it's not only them, but we need to be on that doorstep every day, lobbying for, if they're not doing their job, they're out.
Yeah.
And making sure that they are following through, because the result is obvious to all of us. No matter what they want us to think and believe, we can all see what's going on. We all know what we're paying for at the gas pump, and we all know whose fault it is.
Oh, yeah.
So let's quit let's be better than the ones that we elect. If the elected ones aren't doing the job, it's time to stop. You know, the things, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Right.
It's time to start changing the things we cannot accept.
Yes.
Period.
I like that. Hot issue right now is abortion.
Yes.
First of all, tell us what you think about somebody in the court leaking a draft. And also tell me what your opinion is of demonstrating in front of justices' homes in the Washington, D.C. area. And then we'll go from there.
It is un-American,
yeah,
and it's unconstitutional, and we're better than this. The one thing I want to bring up first is for all the people who said Trump is this, he's mean, he's unpolished, and all of these things. It surprises me how many people are becoming the very thing they accuse other people of. I am not happy with documents being leaked. That's not how our justice system works. Whether it benefits conservatives or not, I do not support leaking documents or anything that would corrupt the justice process.
Sure.
So whether the ends don't justify the means. So I'm not happy about that. Abortion is a very standard issue for me. I do not believe in it. Life begins at conception, no exceptions.
Amen.
And I love for people, this is one of the things I'm hardwired to fight for. I am God's frontline fighter for the unborn. I'm a mother. And there is nothing, so I want to clarify for people, abortion is right. It is not a right. There is no right in our Constitution to kill any living thing. It doesn't say only if these certain circumstances exist.
Right.
If it's just a group of cells, it won't grow, and you don't need an abortion. If it's my body, my choice, well, then why isn't it you that dies? So if it's your body, it would be you that dies. And that's the end of it. You have lots of choices. Okay, you have a choice not to do that. They like to go back to their favorite argument of incest and rape. And as a woman, I like to be able to speak to that.
Please
Those
do.
are problems that exist, that have existed, but it does not invalidate life.
Right.
Okay, it does not. And Bishop Ron Archer, a man that I adore and hold in high respect, is the product of a failed abortion attempt.
I know.
That man has affected so many lives. He's got so many things that he could complain about in terms of his start and his origin, and he's still the most faithful warrior for God I've ever met. And that is what I want to remind people, is the child is innocent and hate is learned, so it does not change the value of that life. Horrific. And as a woman, it's a threat that I face all the time, but it does not negate what is. So it is, if it wasn't alive, it wouldn't need an abortion. So we don't need to have that, that we're just going to make science up as we go along. So that's what I will always fight for. That is my guiding principle. So being on the doxing Supreme Court justices, anybody who thinks that that's a good idea, you are a hypocrite. That is the very thing that we're supposed to be fighting for: love, respect, and tolerance. It's the favorite platform of the left. Tolerance, except, when we don't agree with it. Believe all women, except for that one. And we have to stop with this scathing hypocrisy. It has to, and the anger and the animus. And you have choices. You always have choices. As a woman, I have choices.
Yeah.
So, and all choices have consequences. So that's where I am on that, and I will fight for the unborn and the helpless, because you're on a slippery slope. It's not really a life. No, it really is, or you wouldn't need an abortion.
Right. That's exactly right.
So that's where I need people to know that there's no debate on those kind of fundamental issues. But doxing Supreme Court justices, doxing anybody, the things that they did to Trump, the horrible things that we said, I would like to remind people, no matter how angry you are, that's somebody's husband, that's somebody's father, that's somebody's son. Is that what you want your children to hear about you? You should see the horrible things they say about me for, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a coon, you're all these, you can't hurt my feelings with that. The point is that where does it become okay for you to disagree and feel like you can be consumed with this kind of hate and animus and spew this? You don't have the right to kill things. Nothing in our document was in our founding fathers never ever said you have the right to kill a living thing. You don't have a right to kill a living thing, and I will never support that. So the Supreme Court justices, their job is to apply the law equally.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. And that means for the ones who are going, well, it's not really a baby. Well, then why do you charge a person who kills a pregnant woman for a double homicide?
Yeah, I've always wondered about that.
You're going to have to decide what side of the fence you're on that. So the science doesn't change to suit your feelings.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we're going to do that. But yeah, that's what I would tell people is if doing that is nothing justifies that. We don't threaten people. We're better than that. So we don't do that.
God bless you for standing next to your principles.
Absolutely. This is the way God has ordained it. We do it. He knows what he's doing.
Yep. Let me impose on you if I can.
Please.
We have millions of people who watch this show, all over the world, in fact, and many don't know anything about Jesus. They saw this strip scene behind us. They saw an attractive woman who's running for office. They said, well, let's watch this, and that's all they know. You are well informed by Jesus. I know that.
Yes.
That's your camera. Would you please address it and tell folks why living with Jesus, walking with Jesus, is a good way to go?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to say that. I would like to tell people my journey with Christ has gone through a few turns. I grew up Catholic. I'm now proudly non-denominational, but I have a wonderful relationship with God. I never understood it before, but we have something inherent to us all where we know our circumstances, but just know the truth is the truth. Everything that was made has a maker. And that's the premise that we live on. God is good and he is real if you believe him to take you where you need to go. I have been through some of the worst things you can imagine, and sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees. Where is God? I would tell people the best way I would explain it is like the best well-played game of chess you've ever seen. We've got the king, the most prominent position on the board. We've got the bishop on the spiritual perimeter, the knights who go forward. God has laid this out for us in the Bible. The proof is in the pages, in his word. He has been faithful. Everything that he has said to come to pass has come to pass. God is a God of love and a God of choice. He gives you the choice to come to him. This is a tough world to live in. We have a lot of evil. We have a lot of things in this world that are difficult for just average, ordinary humans to deal with. It's going to take more than that to get you through. No matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, God is forgiveness and he is love. And there are people like Dale and myself who are happy to talk to you about the realness, the miracle that is God, of just take a moment to soak in the amazing things that can only be possible with God in their lives. So God is, he is the answer, he is the proof, he is faithful, he has never forsaken us, and he will be back on the throne again. Come to God, he's ready for you.
Thank you so much, Raven. It was very well stated, very heartfelt, and the most important message of this entire hour.
You can do all things through Christ. I mean, to end it is, Dale, I was wrapped around a tree 30 days ago.
I saw the photo in your husband's phone.
Torpedoed
I don't know how you're even walking at all.
I'm not walking very smoothly, but I'm walking, so I would tell people if they wanted that extra layer of proof that 30 days ago I was hit by a car. I had a fractured tibia, 2nd and 3rd degree burns, whiplash, neck and back injuries, and I was in really bad shape. I am here 30 days walking in, fabulous for God, 30 days later, because that is the power of God. I could have been killed, and I am here to speak and to help other people who are broken, who are struggling, and to tell them there is hope, and we can do this. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Wow, that's wonderful. Isn't she so Raven?
That's so
I waited
Raven.
forever. I waited forever to do that.
So I was expecting a quote the Raven, but yes, that is very Raven.
There you go. God bless you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks for coming on the show. Raven Harrison, vote early and often. Oh, no, that's the other side.
That's right. Vote like you mean it.
That's right. Well, God bless you all for watching, and as I try to remember to say each and every episode, in closing, when it comes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, please walk with Him. God bless you.
Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with your host, Dale Davidson. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of our show. We so appreciate your loyalty to our program. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, please go to our website, vegassaints.org, and click the Donate button. To send a check or money order, please make it out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries and mail it to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To suggest a guest to appear on the show or any other suggestions or questions, write to Dale at dalewdavidson@yahoo.com.